Hello everyone and welcome to episode 16 of Podcast of Five Rings, your source of enlightenment in the realm of video games, tabletop, anime, film, and tech. Each episode of Podcast of Five Rings releases Monday mornings on iTunes and Soundcloud, and now topic by topic, day by day on YouTube, with the full video releasing on Friday. To catch updates about the podcast or for other news, give us a follow on your social media platform of choice listed in the description below. I'm your host, GM, and overseer of Podcast of Five Rings, Obsidian, joined by the resident wildcard, Mao.
Oh wow, you got me first this time.
Finally, we're mixing it up. We got the Dark Fortune Duelist meta, always second.
Yar.
You ain't no crane.
Oh.
You won.
Rar.
The wall that will not fall. Tetsuo.
I'm here, finally.
Sad that crabs are not this week.
I, for one, am so glad that crabs are not this week, as I make thousands of enemies.
Jerk.
I wish I had the power to just kick him from Discord.
G-kick. You're out of the guild, meta.
Damn it. Well, it's going to happen sooner or later.
As he takes all of our loot before he goes.
That's right.
I was
I'm
going to
gonna
say,
take
then he goes
everything
off
from
and
the
makes
guild
his own
bank.
free company with blackjack and hookers.
Forget the blackjack.
Ow. Alright, let's get right into L5R, I guess. This past 2 weeks, we've been off, obviously, because of our double episode recording. Lots of dragon stuff came out. We got a dragon story that we're not going to dwell super long on. Some dragony stuff happened. And there was a prophecy. That's about all I remember because I haven't read it in almost 2 weeks. If anyone has any clear details on it, go on ahead.
Dragon sat on mountaintop. Dragon pondered problem. Dragon gave cryptic answer. Doom befell all. Feel like that's pretty much the story.
That is kind of like on point.
They actually set out to do something and not just keep sitting there.
Yeah, that's true. That's a fair point.
But we
That
never
is
saw it actually. But we never actually saw that happen, though. Until we see it
Yeah, it's
happen,
just the
don't
promise
believe
of it. I've talked a lot about how samey kind of the story's been. This like kind of promised some new stuff, actually. At least the dragon are in a different situation than they were in the previous clan war. We didn't really know a lot about them, but now we know they have like problems at home with the shortage of samurai and some other stuff. This weird Shinto,
Pure Land?
not Shinto, but Shinseiism, like sect of Shinsei.
I freaking love the problems that the dragon face.
Yeah, it's neat.
Yeah.
That was perhaps one of my favorite parts. Like the whole opening, the dude is like doesn't even care that his horse just got murdered, that somebody like ran in front of him. He was just freaking out about, did he accidentally kill this child?
That could have
Who
been
might
one
not
of the
even
samurai.
have been born samurai.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's intense.
that was the best part of the fiction for me. Was just
Yeah.
that new stuff.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
And then once they got to the mountain,
Go ahead, Tets. Sorry.
I was just gonna say that I like how it feels that the dragon is going to be the center of a lot of the upcoming conflict, or at least close to the center anyway, instead of off on the fringes.
Shadowlands are rising.
uh-oh.
Will rise up once again.
If it's not a wall story, I'll be surprised.
We also got to see Hitomi, who's, at least at this point, no longer the Miramoto family daimyo.
Or not yet.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
She didn't start as the daimyo.
Don't you worry. We'll kill him off, and then we'll put him in there.
She got there really fast if she didn't. I don't actually remember.
Well, because originally, when she first swore her blood feud with Yakumo, she was not. In fact, she was like a lower class.
She wasn't even a
at that
samurai
point.
at that point, I think.
Right.
I don't think she'd even got to her Genpaku yet.
Yeah, that's right. She did not, but her brother had just
Yeah.
recently passed it. That was part of the whole thing. He had just passed it, and
They did reveal her brother's dead, so.
yep.
Poor Satsu. Let's get on to some cards, because there's not really much to say without us kind of rambling for a little bit. Okay, we got personalities first. This is obviously all the cards out of the Monks of the Mountain article and some of the previews we got over the past few weeks. First up, we got Ski Investigator. He is a 3 fate cost, a 1/3 courtier with 2 glory. Action: while this character is participating in a political conflict, spend 1 fate to an unclaimed ring. Look at your opponent's hand, choose one of those cards and discard it. Thoughtseas, baby! But it costs 3 instead of 1.
I really like that card.
Yeah, it's good.
Higher glory for a dragon.
Where you had Doji Giftgiver who gave a fate to their opponent and bowed a person in a reaction. This one kind of like fits the theme better. of putting fate onto rings, which is something that Dragon want to do. And just looking at your hand and getting rid of their best card is really good. There's a reason you can only do it once per conflict. You don't want to like completely deplete all your opponent's stuff. Because not only does it get rid of one of their cards, they might have had to invest honor to get that card. So it's almost like you're negating a bit of that cost that they spent too. So
Yeah.
the political 3 for 3 is also really good, and him having a 1 in military makes him relevant.
Yeah, do they have any dashes?
I haven't seen any dashes out of Dragon.
Yeah, I don't think so.
A big focus they talked about was that the Dragon are balanced, and it kind of fits with their whole like wanting to be philosophical and very introspective and stuff. It makes sense mechanically that all their characters probably can do political and can do martial stuff, but we got Ascetic Visionary as the next character. He is a 4 fate cost, 3/4 monk tattooed with 1 glory. No attachments except for monk or tattoo, so you can't put anything else on him. Action. While this character is attacking, spend 1 fate to an unclaimed ring. Choose a monk character or a character with a monk attachment. Ready that character.
That's a big slab of beef.
Yeah, he is. Those stats are really good. Again, more kind of this theme of putting fate onto rings and manipulating that. Also, just a kind of other theme that's been consistent across Dragon cards. You're going to see it as we talk more and more about these cards, is readying characters, because Dragon are basically all about, here's my big unit with my big guy. He's going to stick around for a while. I'm going to get to use him in multiple conflicts because I'm going to keep readying my bowed characters.
And a reliance on attachments.
Yes. I'd say they're probably the most consistent like theme-wise that we've seen.
They said they would, yeah.
A lot of their cards interact directly with what they kind of want to do.
Yeah.
There's nothing that's just like off the beaten path like some of the cards we've gotten for Lion or Crane. They're just like some action.
Yeah.
Next we got Enlightened Warrior, 3 fate cost, 2/2, Bushi, 1 glory. Reaction. After an opponent selects a ring with fate on it, place 1 fate on this character.
That's just a good ability.
Yeah, that's just an incredibly good ability.
Not so good early on, obviously, because none of the rings are going to have fate on them unless you're putting fate onto the rings. And it's going to be harder to do that the first turn, but second turn plus, this character is gas. Probably going to be around the rest of the game.
Also, just beautiful art.
Yeah. Actually, I'm very fond of this card just overall.
The pink sky in the back.
Oh, yeah.
The cherry blossoms.
The mountain off to the right side. Just the pathway that leads he's on.
Mal's liked a lot of this Dragon art.
Yeah, I mean, I like the art in the entire game is pretty great.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Next we got neechan Master, 4 fate cost, 3/3 Bushi with 2 glory. Reaction. After you attach a weapon attachment to this character, ready this character. Limit Chwasp per round. Makes sense for the 2 because neechan is all about using 2 swords. What do you guys think about the card?
He's kind of expensive.
Yeah,
neechan Master, I feel like, is the kind of guy that you really gonna have to make sure you have attachments for him. Otherwise, that investment is pretty hefty for a 3/3.
Theoretically, if you're playing Dragon, a lot of the cards in your conflict deck are going to be attachments.
Or be played as attachments.
Yeah. Otherwise, you probably don't want to buy this guy if you don't have any attachments in your hand, obviously.
I mean, even if you honored him to give him the glory bonus, he becomes a 5/5, which admittedly is really potent numerically, but like you really need to have attachments for this guy's ability to go up. Otherwise, he's just a stat stick.
The stats just for the cost are not good, but the ability is probably 2 fate itself. Just having him be able to go to multiple conflicts and get bigger every time he's at a new conflict is really strong.
Yeah, but it also means that you kind of have to conserve up your pool because you're paying 4 base for him, and then you're going to want to keep him out for a while. Otherwise, there's no point throwing all those attachments on him, and then the attachments themselves are going to cost money. He's a really invested character.
You probably want to pay 5 for him, invest the extra 1. You've probably done stuff to like get bonus fate, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Because since Dragon are all about these big units, you're not really going to buy that many characters a phase. You're probably going to be the first person to pass during the recruitment phase, so you're going to get the 1 fate off that. So most of the time, you're probably going to be the 8 fate every turn. So that's 5. There are free attachments like just the blank 2/0 restricted, 2 military, 0 political sword. I can't remember exactly what it's called. For 0 cost.
Flying Katana?
Yes, so there's that. Then you can pay 1 for another one, and you're getting bang for your buck right there. You obviously just have to have the free attachment. And then you got like 3 more fate, to play around with. So I don't think it's like completely unheard of, but he's going to be like your one character that turn. But he's going to be effective because he's going to show up at a lot of different battlefields. He's probably my favorite card out of all the dragons. I think he's super good, but not someone you want to see on first turn. A lot of the higher costed ones probably aren't, just like old 5R. So
I think, unless you've got the money to spend and spare for him in case other things come up, because in a vacuum, you've got 3 points left in that example, but we have no idea what else might be out there that you need to deal with. I just think the only thing I'd say is he's a good card, but go in knowing that you're gonna have to have, your coffers kind of filled.
Yeah, and if you don't, you can just discard him. It's not like bad or anything. You just get rid of him.
You gotta commit.
We got Tattooed Warrior, 1 fate, 2/1, Monk Tattooed with 0 glory. You may play this character as an attachment with the text, attached character gains covert. He is a 2 influence. For anyone who didn't read the article, covert is basically, when you attack with a covert character, you select one of your opponent's characters without covert, and that character cannot assign to defend. Basically, this is like soft cavalry in a way, to talk about the old game. Cavalry was a way that you could get away from people defending at certain provinces by moving before the battle actually began. In this case, you're keeping someone from moving, moving in.
That seems pretty strong to negate their strongest character.
1 fate to gain covert on any character is really good. It's probably mostly what he's going to be played for. You're probably ever rarely going to see the 2/1 unless he's just in your hand, you have a fate to spare, and you need 2 or 1 more force to win the battlefield. So I think he's mostly going to be attachment.
Yeah, and we haven't seen much of Scorpion yet, but I could easily see him being a Scorpion splash card. I'm assuming they're probably going to have some covert cards in their repertoire.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. It's a very Scorpion-y kind of thing.
Looking through these dragon cards, I don't think they have any 1 influence. It looks like they're going to be hard to splash.
A lot of them are really good, so it makes sense.
Well, I guess they're balanced, because it's all 2s, I think. It's like no 3s or 1s.
Yeah.
Balanced to the end of time.
Neechan adept, 2 fate, 2/1, Bushi with 1 glory. Action while this character is participating in a conflict, bow a friendly attachment on it. So probably if the spell gets put on him that negates his ability, you're not going to be able to use this anyways, but you can't bow something that someone put on you. Choose a participating character without attachments, bow that character. So a very classic Kensai ability from the old game. Kensai, in the old 5R, you just couldn't have multiple weapon attachments, period. Unless you were Kensai, then you got 2. And a lot of their abilities interacted with their weapons that were on them to bow them or send them home or give you force penalties by bowing your weapons usually. So this is a very classic old 5R inspired card. A really good effect because we haven't seen a lot of readying actions to unbow your characters. Now the dragon have a lot, so we're going to see a lot this week. But it just seems like a pretty strong ability.
Yeah, I think it's to help out with their small numbers.
It's also nice for him because he's actually probably one of the cheaper units you can do, and he still comes with a pretty potent ability.
Yeah, the stats by themselves aren't good at all, but
no,
you're gonna want to get attachments on him, and you're gonna be able to. So
he's he's quite literally just like a cheaper, easier, potentially even first turn character as opposed to the Neechan Master.
Yep, he's a very solid, very strong first turn character.
Yeah.
Miramoto Rock Sugu is a 3 fate cost, 3/2, Bushi Duelist, 1 glory. Action while this character is participating in a conflict. Choose a participating character controlled by your opponent. Challenge that character to a military duel. If the loser of the duel has no fate on it, discard it. Otherwise, remove 1 fate from it. So we got our first quote-unquote kill/lethal duel to compare to the old game. In the old game, lots of duels, and not lots of them, but a very common effect of a duel was that you died if you lost it. So it seems that kind of what we were talking about earlier, there isn't really going to be any pure unconditional discarding cards, quote-unquote killing just personalities. Right. You're going to remove fate from them.
Yeah.
And if they don't have fate, then you can discard them. Which I think is a lot... I think that's better because it's a lot more... It's less swingy. You don't feel like you're completely screwed that your one character got killed. And just this ability is like really strong. He's a duelist meta. What
Yeah.
do you think about him?
I think I want to use him. I love his duel ability.
Is he your favorite character because he's a duelist?
I like his duel is really straightforward as compared to like the Kenshin Zen we saw, which is insanely potent and a humongous guessing game for the opponent. I love the simplicity in this guy's duel. He's like, I'm challenging this guy a duel. This is what happens to the loser, and I love how potent that is because that is removing a fate, and you do not want to lose that duel because that could either kill off your card a round early, or it could mean that he's gonna die a round early, and you now have to replan around that.
Well, if he has none, you just get rid of him right then and there. You don't even have to worry
Well,
about
yeah.
him. Weird that he uses a Tonto in his duel in the art.
Yeah, I thought that was a little bit weird. It's even weirder is that it's like the whole reverse hand grip. I mean,
Yeah.
not to get full on true martial arties, but that's kind of really weird. That's not a thing you would do.
He's also a really good... I think he's your best political defender that Dragon have.
Yes.
'Cause-
Yes, solid political defender.
Just like the Kenshin's in, this is a military duel. They don't have to... You can't challenge, I believe they said in the last week's live video, if a character has a dash, and you try to challenge them, like a dash in the military, you try to challenge them to a military duel, they can't participate.
Correct.
Yeah.
But if they have zeros or ones, and they're like political powerhouses, and he's your one political dueler, you can severely cripple someone on the attack.
Yeah.
So he's just a really solid, and could possibly get rid of that character too. Especially if he's beefed up, he or she's beefed up with attachments. So I like the card. It's probably my second favorite. Super good. Next is Togashi Causeway. Is a 3 fate cost, 3/3, monk tattooed with 1 glory. You may play this action, or you may play this character as an attachment with the text, action. During a conflict in which attached character is participating, choose another participating character, move 1 fate from that character to the attached character. She is 2 influence.
She is immensely powerful.
Yep. The stat
Holy
line is
crap.
fine by itself, and then you get this action on top of it.
Yeah, like the dumbest part is the fact that like if you don't play her as a character, just attach her to a character and then just keep assigning that dude to everything.
Maybe you felt like you had to invest extra fate, and then you draw her next turn, and maybe you flip like Yokuni later, and you go, oh, I want to put that fate that I put on my other guy onto Yokuni. So it doesn't just sap from opponent, you can use it to your benefit too if your opponent's not putting extra fate on their characters. Like, for instance, if you're going up against Line, maybe, and they haven't triggered some of their fate abilities yet.
I don't even think, not even Yokuni, I think just like throwing her onto the neechan master, that would be devastating.
Yeah,
'cause-
Yeah, it would be
putting
really
on
good.
her on anyone that can ready themselves and then go like participate in both conflicts.
Good God.
Yeah, really good.
Ooh,
She is every bit worth that 3 cost just as an attachment. Sapping
As a-
Fate's really strong.
I think she's actually better as an attachment. I think as
Oh,
a
she's
character,
way
she's
better as an
okay,
attachment.
But like, you want to use her as an attachment. Don't even bother
Oh,
putting her
yeah.
on the field.
yeah, but she can be played in a pinch as like a surprise character.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe like last turn, if you're trying to crack your opponent's last province, you might need that extra force to do it. That's another reason
Yeah,
why she's really
trying
good.
to crack the stronghold.
She's
or
so
something.
versatile. Because not only is she a really good attachment, she has just solid stats for that cost. So
I also just love her art.
Mal is the art buff of the group, if you guys haven't noticed yet. Yes, this art is magnificent.
Oh, the finest. I'll take 5.
Speaking of good art, this is my favorite art. The next character, Togashi Okuni. All the
I could have
Oh, yeah.
guessed
Champ-
that. I just took a look at this guy and I was
Big
like,
helmet.
this looks
Yeah,
like
this
a guy
dude-
Obbs would love.
oh yeah,
The edgiest.
Yeah, the edgiest. I was like, how is this not a scorpion?
He makes
Bob
me think of
Cost.
Shredder.
no, that's Uji. 5 cost, 5/5. All the champions are probably going to be 5. Bushi Shugenja champion, 3 glory. Action: choose a triggered ability, put it on another character. That character gains that ability until the end of the phase, max once per round.
That's bloody powerful.
This is the strongest champion we've seen so far.
Yeah.
Because the stat spread is just higher. It's higher by 1 than the other 2 champions. The other ones are 6/3s, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
He's a 5/5. 3 glory, so it turns into an 8/8. Shugenja, so that could matter. Depending on... I don't know. I don't think Dragon are going to have any spells base. If so, we haven't seen them yet. Maybe Splash Phoenix. There's obviously some neutral spells. They don't have Law Shugenja, so that's probably not a good strategy, but I don't know. It might matter for something down the road when we get like a Tamori theme or something. Or not Tamori, but Agasha now. Back to Agasha. I'm so stuck in old 5R terminology.
You just can't go back.
Maybe it'll start with Tamori.
No, it's Agasha. They've already said.
Yeah, there's already one of the earlier dragons was the Agasha swordsmith.
Yep.
Oh,
He's a
that's right.
Fire
That's right.
Shugenja.
Yeah. And this type of action has always just been really strong. I suspect it will be strong again. Let me look.
We really got to know what a triggered ability is.
Yeah,
though.
we need to know what a triggered ability is, but like Enlightened Warrior, I know this card's going to trigger off of. So that's like a good effect. If you can get like neechan Master effect, that's going to be super strong. Stuff like buffing even more off the guy who there's the ascetic togakushi, I believe, who gets stronger when there's a fate token on the ring that you're fighting over or something like that. Lots of good just triggered abilities that we've seen so far, and if we can get a better explanation on what triggered specifically means, because it seems more like it's going to be reaction effects, but if that's all it is, why wouldn't you not put reaction on the card?
Well, it might be action and reaction, which would make it really good. Like, obviously, you can't maybe target like the restricted or ancestral abilities.
Oh yeah, for sure. Those are more like keyword abilities, I think.
Yeah, well, so maybe it's any action or reaction or forced reaction.
Yeah, if it's,
I can't remember
if it's
that's
any
a thing.
action or reaction, that's going to be super good. So he's really strong. I think he's the best clan champion we've seen so far.
Yep.
Agreed.
All right, let's get into attachments. We got Ancestral Dasho, which we've already seen before, but was in the article, so we'll just go ahead and talk about it really briefly. 1 fate cost, +2/0. Ancestral, when attached card leaves play, return this card to your hand. That's the Ancestral keyword ability. It's also restricted. Yeah. Also 2 influence. It's just a card that
It's so
you
good.
put it in play, you're probably going to pay 1 every round to keep it around as it falls off.
Yeah, you never really have to invest more fate into it.
Yep, it's a way to constantly ensure that you have attachments on the board somewhere and keep your attachment-focused Dragon Clan personalities' abilities happening. So, just fuel for your engine.
Yeah, this will go in
Yeah.
every dragon deck.
Yeah.
Right?
I can see it easily splashing into other decks. I mean, Ancestral itself is just bloody good.
As is Kitsuki's method, which is the political version. One fate cost, +2 political strength, Ancestral restricted. Just like the other one, this is probably, since we were talking about the design philosophy earlier before we started recording, political skill is going to be harder to come by in the game. Like, it's easier to buff your military skill just off the actions that more military-focused characters have, whereas there's more control-y, interactive-y kind of stuff with political. Just flat political buff is pretty rare, and this is going to be, again, a constant way to ensure that you have attachments on your guys.
Yep.
Yup.
We also got Way of the Dragon, which is interestingly an attachment. Is 2
Only one way of, I believe, that is.
so far at least. Probably will be the only one. It's a 2.
Well, they showed the fan, and it looks like that was the only one.
Oh, okay. 2 fate cost, 1/1 philosophy. Attached to a character you control, limit 1 per character. You may trigger each of attached characters' triggered abilities an additional time each round. So you can Yokuni twice if you wanted to. If you put it on Yokuni.
Hey.
Well, whatever he picks. 'Cause
That's a bloody good card.
Yeah, just really nice.
Just being able to double up on an ability that you have. I mean, that's really solid.
Let me look at the timing on this again. Additional time each round or specified period. The neechan Master who readies, would he get to do it again if you attach that
don't-
round, or does it trigger at the same time twice?
I thought the article
It's
gave
twice.
an example.
He's twice per round anyways, so I don't think it really works with him.
Oh, I mean, like you could do it again, but I doubt you're gonna be throwing like that many conflicts of him into.
It's weird. I think it's going to have to be like played with to really like see. And we also need more
The dragon?
confirmation on
Weird?
triggered abilities. It's fitting that the dragon has had the most like mechanical confusion out of me, and out of all the other clans. So, all right, we got some events. First one is Vajra Fire. It is a 0 fate cost Kiho Fire. Reaction after an opponent declares a fire conflict. Choose a monk character or a character with a monk attachment. Place 1 fate on that character and draw 1 card. 2 influence.
it's definitely the flashiest art.
Yeah,
Looks like Kokujin.
somebody's on.
That
fire.
was what I thought.
Yeah, was that you saying that earlier, Tats? I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
agree
Like I
with
saw it, and there's a specific Kokujin card that to me just that looks like him from it, but I couldn't tell you what card it was from the old game.
Yeah. While this card seems very situational, because it has to be a fire conflict, and your opponent has
And
to
you have to
declare
have a
it,
monk.
and you have to have a monk. Fire
free.
is it's free. Fire is probably the best ring, depending on what clan you're playing. At least if you're up against Crane and Lion, who have high glory and care about being honored, fire is a very common ring they're going to go after. There's ways to incentivize your opponent as Dragon by putting fate on the fire ring if they're not going after it. And if you got a monk, they have to always have in their mind, are they going to walk into a free fate on the character and an additional card because it replaces itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a strong card, especially out the base, because I think you're going to have at least like the 3 or 4 monks, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the few cards that also allows you to draw another card.
Yeah, it just replaces itself. It's good. It's
draw power, man.
It's free card draw and fate, but very conditional.
Yeah.
So some balance.
We've seen 5 monks, though one is that attachment lady. So.
And 2 in the initial conflict article, I believe.
Oh, I went through all of them.
Yeah. Next attachment we have is Let Go. 0 fate cost. Action. Choose an attachment. Discard it. 2 influence. Very bread and butter, classic old 5R attachment hate card. Mal liked this card a lot when it was previewed.
Just for the flavor, yeah. Oops, dropped your sword.
Into the river, apparently. I think that's a river. Or is it just
you
like...
can also use it on yourself if you want to move around an attachment.
Oh yeah, if you got like restricted or stuff like that, or you need to use the ability on your neechan master again, he's all attachmented up, and just good at getting rid of honor blades, which seemed like it's going to be a good card. So it's going to be good. If people splash Dragon a lot, it's probably going to be a card that gets splashed. Next we got Miramoto's Fury. 1 fate cost event. Action during a conflict. Choose an attacking character with glory X or lower. Bow that character. X is equal to the number of unrevealed provinces you control. Is 2 influence.
Fairly good early game, but obviously late game, you really don't want that card.
No.
Yeah.
You don't want it at all late game.
I mean,
although to be fair,
there are some 0 glory people, so it's not useless, right?
Yeah.
Well, you're always going to have 1 unflipped province, probably, because there might be times where you do flip them all, because maybe they attacked into a province that was really good and they didn't win there, and maybe the game's kind of stalemate a little bit and they flip your other province. But then again, like you guys said, there's still 0 glory guys, so.
Well, I mean, like, even then, though, technically, you have, I believe, even your Stronghold is considered a province, correct?
It's got a province under it. So you start with 5 unflipped.
Yep.
So unless you swing at all 4 of them, you're technically going to still be able to hit. If you go directly for, like, just crushing the Stronghold and going for the most efficient route as opposed to, like, trying to slap every single province, you'll still be able to bow 2 people or less, 2 glory or less, because you'll have 2 provinces still technically unrevealed, at least until you make the final attack. In which case, it's just 1 or 0.
Yeah, basically, unless. Well, yeah, you'll probably always have at least 1 unbowed. Like they could attack the Stronghold and then fail.
Yeah.
And then attack again. But yeah, so.
But I don't think from what they've said that's not generally a strategy you want to take, because most games ends pretty quickly.
I'm just saying things happen, so.
Yeah.
And it's also, you can only use it on defense, so it makes it a little worse. But again, you're like the big guy, really good early. You're going to basically be able to bow anything, so just one of those cards that has like diminishing returns as the game goes on.
I think it's pretty cool seeing like an entire battle represented on a card.
Yeah.
Yes.
Next we got Indomitable Will. It's a 1 fate cost event. Says reaction after you win a conflict in which you control only a single participating character. That character does not bow as a result of the conflict's resolution. 2 influence.
Probably fits with the dragon.
Yep, they don't want to bow during conflict resolution. You want to keep your big, beefy unit at every single battlefield. This is the way to do it.
I could definitely see Crab wanting to splash dragon for things like this.
Yeah, especially if they're big guys. I see Meta clicking furiously on her notes because I put the wrong card in there.
I was just clicking over and over.
Let's get on to province. We got Restoration of Balance, which is a 3 province strength. Reaction after this province is revealed. Your opponent chooses and discards cards from his or her hand until that player has 4 or fewer cards in hand.
I hate that card so much.
Well, you might play if you play Crane, you play Honor meta. It's not going to be as good against you.
Well, I mean, like, I hate that fact of that card that's like, oh, by the way, that hand you have, yes, please lower it down to 4 cards, if you like.
Yeah, because I've watched some games of Table of Yours podcast playing on Tabletop Simulator, there was at one point one person had I think 10 or 11 cards in hand. Imagine how crushing that would be to swing into this province and lose 7 cards.
Yeah.
So it's
Hell, even losing 3 cards would kill me.
Yeah, if you lose more than 1 card,
Rip
you're
meta.
sad because that's 2 honor you've invested essentially.
Yep.
But it's, again, not as good against honor runners because they're usually going to be bidding low. I could see this card being put on your Stronghold, maybe?
I mean, the Crane even was it a province or an event that lets them draw 3 cards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if they hit this after that, that's going to feel bad.
Yeah,
but
when you're playing against Dragon, you just have to... It's one of those things where you just have to know the environment, know what cards each clan has access to. So as any person playing this, you got to know that you don't want to overload on cards. You're going to run into this province eventually.
Yeah, this seems really good to put under your Stronghold.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Limit their final choices, yeah.
Because that's when people are going to want to invest all their honor because they're going to want to draw as many cards as they can. They know they're not going to win honor victory. They have to crush this last province, so why not get as many cards as you can? If you're over and you put that on your last province, then there you go.
Yep.
Okay, we got holding Secluded Temple is a +1 province strength shrine. Reaction after the conflict phase begins. Each opponent who controls more characters than you must choose a character he or she controls with 1 or more fate on it. Remove 1 fate from each chosen character.
Man.
Yeah, that's my thoughts exactly.
Man.
This
not cool.
This can really hurt line. Keeping like fate off your guys for the Miramoto duelist, who can just discard guys. Because if you see that sitting in your opponent's province, you're obviously not going to invest fate on your characters and throw it away. Right?
Yeah.
I think you definitely want, the moment you attack this province and this flips up, that's when it becomes like, I need to
this is
destroy
a
this
holding.
province. Oh!
Yeah.
Oh!
So it sits in your province,
As long as it's
basically.
sitting there.
No!
Yeah, so it can just stay there.
No, then you need to destroy that
Yeah,
area
you need to
for the
destroy
rest
that
of your life.
province and get rid of it and get it
ASAP.
discarded. So
That's what I was going to say originally. Yeah, just destroy the whole area. You need to commit.
all right, let's finish off here. We got Mountains Anvil Castle is the Dragon Stronghold. It is a +2 province strength, so that's the same as all the other province or all of the other strongholds. Action during a conflict, battle the stronghold. Choose a participating character with 1 or more attachments on it. Till the end of the conflict, that character gets +1 military and +1 political, or +2 military and +2 political instead if it has 2 or more attachments on it. It is a 11 honor, 7 fate, 10 influence. 11 honor was a bit of a surprise for me. We were saying that the spectrum of honor starting totals is probably not going to be super different in that case.
Yeah, I didn't think they'd be huge.
So Scorpion
difference.
might be 10, maybe 9.
I don't think it'd be 10 for Scorpion, but
No.
Nah.
So
see.
this is a pretty solid ability. You're going to have attachments. It works in both military or political. So again, more balanced, more versatile than a Crane. It has the chance of being a lower swing than those cards, but it can be equal if not better in some cases. So fits the Dragon, what they want to do.
Yup.
So I think Neechan Master is probably my favorite card. What's everyone else's favorite card they've seen?
I'm gonna go with Enlightened Warrior for the art.
I just really like that ancestral dice show.
He did.
I'm
pick the
kind
twist.
of partial to Yokuni. I feel like my answer's been the champion the last 3 times. Might not have been for Lion, but still, I really like Yokuni.
There you have it, Dragon. Let's see if they mesh up well with Crab next week. I'm looking forward to the Crab
now we
story.
can move on to a better place.
Agreed.
The Shadowlands wall.
1,000 enemies.
That's a better place.
Yes, it's a glorious place that protects the rest of Rokugan.
Much honor to be had.
Something.
I don't know about
British.
honor,
something,
but glory,
something.
yes.
Where would Rokugan be without it?
You
Agreed.
sound exactly like
Dead.
that Crab rhetoric.
I know, right?
Are you really surprised coming from the 2 of us, though?
Nah, not really.
I mean, it's not wrong.
It's not.
It's not, but
I'm gonna say this: if the crab weren't around, somebody else would take up the mantle.
the unicorn.
They wouldn't be as
obviously.
good.
But here's the
can't
thing, though.
prove that.
If somebody else did, how do you not know that they would not just become what the crab are? And would, in essence, be the crab?
I
The
would
crab is
love-
not the crab because of the name, but because of the essence of who they are.
I would love to see an alternate
I mean, the Scorpion
reality
tried, right? But they needed the
where-
crab's help.
where other clans take the job that the crab have. I would love to see alternate realities and just see how that goes.
I think Unicorn would be best at it, personally.
And other
Probably.
people do like stand on the wall. Other clans,
Yeah.
they
Little
send
coma.
people.
No, but I mean, I want that to be like their whole thing. Their whole shtick is what the crab do, and I just want to see how that would mold and affect the clans as we know them. Like, what if that was Doji? What if that was the crane that were actually the protectors on the wall? How would that change them?
Well, I mean, what would the crab be without the wall? I mean, like you know, what would they do? Well, I mean, as samurai, but what would they do? Like how would that change?
The best
What did
thing
they
of all,
do in the Togashi dynasty?
I don't know. I haven't read all that.
I'll
That's
tell you
probably
what they'll
another
do.
topic for another day.
They're going to
We
do
should probably
those
save our crab
awesome
talk for
like
next week.
hat slip like plays where you pull like your position out of like a hat
Oh,
or a
yeah.
helmet.
Oh yeah.
That's what they would
Kubota,
do. Draw lot
Kabuto.
plays. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, draw lots. Yeah.
Yep.
That's what they would do.
All right, Mal, what's your topic?
Card game.
What?
More card games.
Yeah. Hour of Devastation's coming out soon.
Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, their next set, which is the second to last small set, at least for the foreseeable future, because the same week as E3, WotC had their announcement week, Wizards of the Coast, and they're no longer doing individual blocks, or like instead, just gonna each set is a large set that will be more individual from the rest. They'll stay on a plane as long as they want, basically.
I'm glad that they don't feel restricted by that anymore.
Yeah. It'll be
Yeah.
interesting. Also, core sets are coming back.
Yeah,
in the
that's what
summer
I'm
slot.
excited about more than anything.
But yeah, so we got Hour of Devastation coming up. As of the time this will be released, it'll be the pre-release is on
That weekend,
the
I believe.
8th. Yeah, and then the 15th for the full release. It's so the last set, Amonkhet, was an Egyptian-themed set with a Nicol Bolas sub-theme. This is the reverse. Nicol Bolas finally gets to be front and center. He's like Magic's longest reigning big bad.
Yep.
So powerful that an entire format was named after him and his kin, because he's an Elder Dragon, and Commander originally started out as Elder Dragon Highlander. But when Magic or WotC got a hold, or like started supporting it, they dropped the Highlander and just started calling it Commander because that's trademarked.
Yeah.
Because the Highlander literally was a reference because there can only be one card in your whole deck, so
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
each type. But yeah, so he's been around for a long time, been in some big things, but always manipulating from the shadows. But the Gatewatch, basically Magic's Avenger team, came to Amonkhet to figure out what he was up to and try and get the jump on him. And the story with Amonkhet ends with the second sun that finally reaches its peak, signals that Nicol Bolas will be arriving. And
Yeah, he's the God
Also-
Pharaoh of Amonkhet. Basically,
Yeah.
like the central deity that it's a polytheistic society. There's literally like gods walking among the people and stuff. But Nicol Bolas is like the most revered one in their society.
yeah, there's a really cool story that just started. It was all from his perspective, and it explained like how he came to this plane and corrupted it to his own. He took aspects about the plane and rewrote them for his own doing, basically.
Yep, and left behind prophecies about his second coming, basically.
Yeah, and installed the second sun.
So here's a question from somebody who's not well versed in Magic the Gathering lore. Why is Nicol Bolas this big bad? Like, what makes him the
because he is. I mean, he wants more power. That's
Yeah,
basically
he's-
everything. And especially since he stopped being so originally planeswalkers were just gods unto themselves, could create basically an entire plane if they wanted to. And after the mending happened, he really wants more his old power back. Has been basically his goal since the mending happened.
Okay, so it's just that he's power hungry. I mean, does it really show that he's more tyrant-y, or is it just that he's this power hungry, will do anything to get more power?
He's like an interesting
entity?
take on a god complex because he lost basically like his supreme godlike powers in a way and wants to get them back. So he's like had
The
a
last
taste
time-
of it and he wants it again.
Yeah, the last time he really showed up was in, I think it was the Alara set, which was like 5 demi-planes that each were missing 2 of the colors of mana, and he orchestrated the conflux, which they all collided back together, and he tried to absorb the power of the conflux, and he failed because of intervention from another planeswalker, lion man named Johnny.
Johnny!
Yeah. But, so yeah, they didn't really know what was up, because when they got to the plane, everyone loved him, and it seemed like it was everyone had a pretty nice life going on, like, glory to him.
The gods literally walked around. I think Gideon was like, how could Nicol Bolas let, basically, like, these altruistic creatures, like, control the plane and be these things of worship, because he's so corrupt and an enemy.
But this one starts with the gates. These giant gates, can't remember the exact name for them, but they were opening. They're supposed to lead to paradise, and it was just like more desert wasteland. And a demon flies out, who Razaketh, who Liliana did not mention to the rest that he was on the plane, and that she wanted to kill him because he holds one of the contracts that she made to gain her youth back and power. He uses some blood magic and turns basically the equivalent of the Nile that's running through the city into blood. And killing everything
kills all
in
the
it.
animals in it.
Yeah. And then she mind melds with some zombie crocodiles and just devours him.
Yeah, with the help of the rest of the Gatewatch.
Yeah, it was a thing. Like, it was an interesting story. Like, the descriptions going on, like, because she actually like felt as they devoured him, she could like feel it going on and filling up.
Yeah.
I actually like Liliana, like from the story bits that I've heard.
Yeah, she's an interesting character. Because she's on the side of the good guys, sort of, but she's like, the black character of.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say it's using black magic, but or black energy, I guess, but showing that it's not in and of itself evil. There's evil in other.
Yeah,
ones,
they always say that it's black's the color of amorality, so she just has no morals.
Yeah.
Right. That doesn't mean she has to use it for evil, though she doesn't care if she does.
Yeah. She's very selfish.
Yeah.
His the Razaketh card was no Gristlebrand, which was another one of her demons.
Yeah.
But that's not surprising, since he's like the best creature card in all of Magic, practically. But yeah, so after that, some three of the corrupt gods wake up and start destroying everything. Just the city and its denizens, laying waste to the last safe place on Amonkhet. And then it eventually leads up to because these are all different hours leading up to the final hour of devastation, where Nicol Bolas shows up and deals 5 damage to all creatures and all planeswalkers not named Bolas. And he just raffle stomps the Gatewatch. They're like, we can do it, and he's like, no, you can't.
That's what I want to see. This so bad.
Yeah.
Is that
flavor text,
guys? No, you don't.
Yeah,
they need their
is that the torment of Hellfire?
Because my favorite scene in like role playing games is always the scene where the party's trucking along. They're running through bad guys like nobody's business. They come against not necessarily the big bad, but a big bad, and just get their shit stomped in. They realize that it's getting real at this point. This is the moment that I've wanted to see come to the Gatewatch.
They were basically riding high off of defeating Eldrazi, or at least sort of defeating Emrakul,
saving
and then Kaladesh.
Yeah.
And they made an entire cycle of cards that shows each of the members' defeat with and the card specifically says if this does something to that, like if this destroys the planeswalker named Liliana, get an extra effect. And they all have flavor text of Nicol Bolas just talking down to them.
Yep, it's great.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I love that.
And
do you think that'll get?
Oh, what's that?
I was just gonna say, do you think that'll get much play if it specifically is calling out certain,
probably not, because the effect of the cards all target the red card targets red creatures only, and then
they're very
or planeswalkers,
right.
And then they're all very color hate cards. Like they all hate on the color they are.
Right.
They're all decent.
So they'll be
cards.
sidebarred. I think the blue one saw sideboard in its standard. So the blue one is almost very similar to a previous card they did back in Theros that hated only blue cards, but it countered them. I think it saw some play in standard, but blue was a lot better than I think.
Yeah.
So and then it reveals Bolas had corrupted what were the trials of basically of devotion that they did once a generation, for these the gods. He made it basically where it's happening all the time, and then the people that come out on top of the trials are killed ceremoniously by the red god and taken to what they their eventual afterlife. And it's revealed that those are the top of the top that he are making into his zombie warriors, his eternal, and he's equipping them with super fancy blue armor. And he'll probably use the planar portal he got on Kaladesh to send them throughout the realms somehow. I don't know exactly where that's going, but
yeah,
I'm interested.
I just want to see.
It's cool.
I like Amonkhet as a plane too, and it makes me sad. But in order to see the Gatewatch get their comeuppance, I think it needs to be like completely destroyed.
Well, the city that was the last gets destroyed, but they kept it. They did pretty well with the spoiler season because they haven't revealed much of the cards up until the last day or two. There's some like hope for Amonkhet. Like there's Survivor Camp, and like there are other like some of the green cards that Flavor Text talks about restoring Amonkhet.
Yeah, I'd at least like to see like super devastated. Maybe we won't come back to it for a long while, but
probably not. But it's cool. It's nice to see the Planeswalkers get theirs, or the Gatewatch.
You want to talk new mechanics at all?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I've liked the story, and they seem to be getting kind of more of their groove as it's gone on. Like Zendikar was pretty bad, but everything was pretty bad in the Zendikar.
Yeah, I didn't really like the last two sets.
Cards story.
Yeah, I started playing in Shadows, obviously, so I thought the last two story things were really meh, but this one's been a lot better in my opinion.
I didn't love Kaladesh, but I think Shadows was pretty cool. It was just people were getting Eldrazi fatigue.
Yeah, exactly.
But like Emrakul, like the finale was pretty cool. But as far as actual cards, so there was Cycling, Exert, Aftermath cards, and -1/-1 counters are all still there from Amonkhet, previous mechanics.
They back.
Yeah, and then new mechanics, there is Eternalize, which is to signify creatures becoming his Bolas's Eternal, where you pay the cost while it's in the graveyard, and it comes back as a copy, similar to Embalm from the previous set, but it always comes back as a black zombie instead of a white zombie before, and now always a 4/4, which is always higher stats than the original. And then they usually have abilities that play off of having better stats. Like there's a 1/1 that becomes a 4/4 and has double strike, so that's way better.
Yep.
And another one that has the ability to, if it does damage to an opponent, they discard however many cards as the power. So having the higher power means they discard more cards.
Yeah. And was Embalm instant speed? I can't remember.
That is a good question.
Because it says sorcery specific on this.
Yeah, then no, it's the same.
Okay.
Embalm was sorcery too.
All right.
But yeah, it's pretty cool mechanic.
Yeah, it's good.
Everyone's got at least one in every color, but it's mostly blue-black. Blue-black, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, blue-white, actually. Because blue-black and red, the Grixis colors that Nicol Bolas is, gets afflict, which is, it'll always have a number, so like afflict 2, which means if they are blocked, they still do 2 damage, even if they're blocked. So and then they'll have mechanics like there's one creature with only one power, but afflict 4. But if he's not blocked, you get to play an instant or sorcery for free. So
and that damage is to the player, not to the creature.
It's to the player. And then, while not a mechanic, there is a small desert theme on the lands or the desert lands and creatures and other things that will play off of whether if there's a desert in play or in the graveyard, you'll get some sort of effect.
Yep. Oh, I can't wait to go to pre-release and try to make a desert deck that's going to be awful.
Yeah. I haven't really seen anything in the desert theme that's like probably going to be big enough to make it in standard, but it'll be fun in limited, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about standard. I don't play it, but it doesn't look like they had a lot of hits on constructed playables in this set, unfortunately, or at least on the rares.
Yeah.
The Titular card, Hour of Devastation, people are hoping will make blue-red control
that's
thing.
I'm hoping.
That looks pretty powerful. There's a pretty powerful Angel that's 4 mana for a 3/3 flying vigilance, and then you can tap it, pay 3 mana, and blink a creature, which is like they leave and come back into play.
Yeah.
Or you can pay 3 mana, tap it, and exert it, and exile a creature until the Angel goes away.
Yeah, Nicol Bolas is also good too, but was probably
he's expensive.
Was better until Marvel got banned.
Yep.
So, wah. Yeah, I'm really excited for blue-red control again, because Our Devastation just sounds like it slots right into it, and your one creature that you're playing in that deck doesn't get killed by it, Torrential Gearhulk, so...
Yep. I'm looking forward to the limited. It looks like people think this set kind of... Or I've seen a lot of people say that this set looks better than Amonkhet, which is pretty rare for a small set.
Yeah.
But I think that's in mostly limited talk. But it looks like it's still going to be pretty fast, like Afflict just doesn't encourage blocking really, just like Exert, so it'll probably be pretty fast as a draft format. But the Sealed will probably still be on the slower side, where Embalm and Eternalize are more important. So you'll have so if you want fast, you go with draft, and if you want slower, you go with Sealed.
Favorite card, Torment of
really
Hellfire for me.
I
just love the art and the flavor text on the card.
It'd make a good play mat.
That's what I was saying earlier. I was like, I want this on a playmat so bad. This is the ultimate smug bad guy, like completely wrecking everything card.
Yeah, this set also has a lot of good cards for Commander, which is pretty fitting. I think like that one will be brutal because it hits all opponents.
Yeah.
I really like Hour of Devastation, but I think I'm gonna go with Neheb the Eternal, who is also a red card. It's 3 red for a 4/6 legendary zombie Minotaur warrior. Because it's a zombie version of a card from Amonkhet. Mm-hmm. He's been made into an Eternal, and it's got Afflict 3, and then you get a red mana for every amount of damage. You get 1 red mana in your post-combat phase for every life your opponents have lost this turn.
Yeah, that can be really.
So it just looks fun and has pretty cool
also
art.
Goes well with Hour of Devastation.
Yeah. No. Opponents lost. That doesn't hit opponents.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's a board wipe.
He is at least safe from it, though. If he wasn't
That
blocked.
is true.
The card I'm most sad about is Samut the Tested. Red-green just never gets good planeswalkers.
No, I don't. They haven't made a single good red-green planeswalker, really.
Oh, Alan Cord.
I've seen some people say this is worse than Tybalt, which is pretty brutal, but it's probably one of the worst planeswalkers.
Yeah.
I like the set. It looks fun. I'm gonna probably play or draft it quite a bit. I loved OG Zendikar, best draft set. Super fast. And yeah, that's
Are you gonna pre-release again?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to. I may try to go to an actual Friday one this time and do 2.
Fridays means midnight.
Well, yeah, it's Saturday technically, but whatever.
Yeah, I was just saying you have to do midnight.
Yeah, I know. So maybe do like the midnight one and then Sunday as well.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, they also announced that after Amonkhet is Ixalan, which is pirates and dinosaurs, which just seems really silly and fun.
Complete left turn.
I may return to Magic the Gathering for Pirates and Dinosaurs.
Set up. I'm gonna have to probably look that set up. I mean, Pirates and Dinosaurs that's pretty hardcore.
Yeah, I think we've seen some leaked cards from it too.
Yeah, there have been quite a someone. I think someone swiped the entire rare sheet in foil. I've kind of stayed away from it. I saw like a few of the initial ones, but I've kind of stayed away because it's just too early.
Yeah, I want to focus on this stuff.
Yeah, that's it for me.
All right, Meta, what's your topic?
Well, my topic is definitely not about magic, but it could be, depending on what you answer it with. But I feel like we need to talk about something very important today, so I need you to sit down, put on your serious face, and work with me on this. I was perusing through some stuff, and I was kind of thinking about, topics we could do today. And you know what I kind of miss is that there's a lot of as time goes on, like things change obviously, and then we go through different phases in anything, whether it be card games, whether it be movies, gaming, anything in the entertainment industry is often very, very often changing and going through new ideas or concepts with the passing of years. And sometimes that means that things that were popular back then very quickly fade out for new concepts, or at least what's considered to be popular now. And I was thinking, in both gaming and movies specifically, but just in any place, we have a lot of different genres. We have a lot of different things we can watch. There's a lot of different themes and ideas: action, role play, horror, etc., etc. But obviously, some things kind of fade in and out with time. And I was kind of thinking to myself, you know what I miss? I miss some of the older genres that we don't really see anymore, or genres that haven't really been touched on, either through, the Hollywood blockbuster and whatnot. And I wanted to know to you guys, is there a genre of a game or a movie or even books, literature that you'd like to see more of? either to come back or something that could show up potentially in the future, because I certainly can think of a couple things that I would like to see. For instance, in my case, I would love to see turn-based tactical games come back. They are they are old. There are very few that come out nowadays.
You just don't play enough waifu games, Meta.
No, I'm not talking about waifu games.
Get on that Valkyria
like,
Chronicles, son.
You're see, like, I was thinking about that too, but those are really hybrids.
Yeah.
They're not full on tactical. They're not just like you have your units, you're moving them across the field, and this is what you do. There's a lot of times where like a hybrid something where they might have first person events, or they'll have like some quick time stuff in there. Generally,
So you want more Fire Emblem?
well,
If it has Lyn in it.
I will never say no. I don't want more Fire Emblem, but I would like to see the genre more.
Yeah,
so than
we
just a
did see
specific
that one game at E3 where you could even build your own campaign.
Yes, there was those things. And then looking back at, like the history and whatnot, you've got a couple of games out there, but like just in the 2010s, there was like Shadowrun Returns, and then obviously you had the expansions that were like the sequels that were Dragonfall in Hong Kong, which came out in 2015, 2015. You had Blackguard, which was actually a tactical RPG in Germany, based on German, and it kind of has a pen and paper style setting. And there was a sequel that was for 2015. You also had Invisible Ink for the OS X, Windows and Linux, which again was kind of roguelike, as they say, although I would be careful with that. In 2016, there was Darkest Dungeon, which came out finally. Dankest Dungeon. And
just came out with a expansion.
Yes, the Crimson something or other.
I love that game.
And then you have a game in 2017. The German indie developer Overhyped Studios released its tactical RPG Battle Brothers out of early access. But those are all those games are either sequels to a game that's already been done, and generally only a few of them out there, and that's just in the span of the 2010s so far. But in last year and the year before that, it's only been like some of the better well-knowns that ones come out. 2014 saw like 2 games. 2013 saw, I think, 1, and 2015 only saw 3.
We're getting the new mech game. It's turn-based tactical.
Yes, which I'm very, very excited for because it looks fun. But I would love to see more stuff. I would love to see games like Final Fantasy Tactics, not Advanced. Final Fantasy Tactics, the actual one, come out. I would like to see that.
I've played the advanced ones.
Nah, dead to me.
I like them.
I like the Game Boy one, alright.
Give me more snowball fights.
No.
Tactical version.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Snowball fights. That was the pinnacle fight in the whole game. I don't understand why they just didn't do that.
That was the tutorial.
I also I also kind of miss games like XCOM. I mean, you had XCOM 2 that came out a while ago.
Yep.
Those are fun. Those are tactical games. But I don't. It's kind of a genre that is. You'll find good games in it. Don't get me wrong. You get good names in there, but there's not a lot of variety.
Yeah, they're pretty. You don't get a whole lot. Luckily, a lot of the ones that do come out tend to be pretty good.
Yeah, which is always a blessing in and of itself. Because God forbid they stop being good. Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. I remember growing up playing a lot more of those kind of games, and now kind of taking a pretty big back step, and you don't see them as often.
I know what I'm going to go with.
What is it?
Well, Spider-Man reviews are coming out, talking about some of their people's favorite thing about the movie. And since I just this year played my new favorite video game of all time, I'm going to go with, I'd like to see,
no, don't say it,
not high school necessarily, but more like day management kind of slice of life, in quotes, aspects to some video games.
You basically want more Persona.
No, I'd love more Persona, obviously, but...
Well, I mean, and that style, but in other things. Because you also like the Cold Steel?
Yeah, Trails of Cold Steel, which is basically like Persona as well, but a little different.
Yeah.
I think it would be cool to see like an action game where you did like the mission-y, like, go out and do stuff, but then you have like your day management, maybe with like a hub world or something like that. Or shooters even. Maybe they could do something with that. It's like something people haven't really experimented with outside of the realm of the JRPG, really. I'd like to see it kind of go over to other places. It would just take someone smarter than me to be able to implement it, because I don't know how you would do it. But I'd like to see someone at least try, maybe. So that's, I guess, my answer.
Actually, I kind of agree with you because I've seen a number of games that will put like day-night cycles, but you never really have to care. Like you'll be running around at midday and then like you'll go home or something, or do like somewhere at some place, you'll pop out. It's the middle of the night. There's no reason to manage like what you're doing. You don't have to go to sleep or anything. There's not like you can only do certain things at certain times a day. You end up just kind of being able to do everything. So the day-night cycle really is just there to give a sense that the world is at least progressing on.
Yeah, you got to find a way to integrate that into the gameplay like Persona does too.
Yeah.
That's like because it wouldn't be as good in Persona if it wasn't so closely tied to the gameplay.
Yeah.
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 I love me some Persona, but I don't know if I could handle more games like it.
It doesn't have to be another 160 hours, man.
Well, no, I feel like I don't love being restricted on my time.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's one of the reasons why we don't see it that much, being experimented with, is because a lot of people, I don't imagine the general populace sees it as a very good game mechanic.
Yeah, and you want to play it safe.
And to a degree, it can very easily, if not done right, come off as just adding features for features, adding gameplay for gameplay, and therefore being much more just dead weight.
Yeah, I think you really got
that's why you got tied in.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's all about that synergy.
Though with Persona's success, or Persona 5 being like the masterpiece that it is, hopefully
it's
it'll
no longer a niche game series anymore after Persona 5.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll see more.
Yeah,
what
cool. About you guys?
I'll go with another video game. Because really Dark Souls has spawned off its own genre, so just give me more of that.
Just go play the
Soulsborne games,
the generic mech one where every environment's the same and all
that
the
was
enemies
so
are the
close.
Same.
That one's like right there.
Mao, I can solve your whole problem. Are you ready for this? Plug in your Nintendo Entertainment System and then just buy any Nintendo game. There you go.
It's not the same.
Well, here's what Dark Souls does so great, and Neo did this as well to an extent. Everyone just wants to copy the gameplay itself and think that their game can stand alone on that. The environments and the enemies in Dark Souls are like super underrated, and they're a big part of why the games are so good. And it's that to me is like so tied with that formula that when I see stuff like is it Surge or what's the name of the game?
It was Surge.
When I see stuff like that and it's just so like milk toast, it just seems completely different and off base to me. So
you know what, a big part of what also makes Dark Souls, or just in general the series, so fantastic, beyond obviously the difficulty and the learning curve for it and whatnot, the mystery. There is so much to learn, and I kid you not, this is just going to go into the understanding of like the human brain and whatnot. But the human brain doesn't generally like to leave like gaps. It likes to know an ending to something, and Dark Souls is full of information that only gives you bits and pieces of a story. So a part of that,
but it gives you just enough where you can fill it in with your own information.
That amusingly is exactly how Miyazaki designed it.
Yeah, which is why it's such also an addictive thing for people to play, because you're not only playing a game that's fundamentally well designed, but everything about that game, there's so much to learn, so much to understand, always another bit of like flavor text to something that can completely change your perception on what exactly a part of the story of how it's explaining something to be. And even then, there's multiple ways you could take that information. There is no solid answer, and you'll never get one.
It's probably more of a subgenre. I do think it built upon the Metrovania style.
Yeah.
As like an ancestor sort of.
It definitely does. I mean, you go from section to section, unlocking areas, and then you eventually go back to areas that you can go into now because of some key item or whatever. I mean, that's Metrovania.
But it's different enough.
On a similar vein, just the immersive sims I've talked about before, like with Prey, more like that too. Just basically, I want more
story-driven games,
environmental storytelling. Really,
that was actually something I was very disappointed by with Neo. I was very disappointed that the overarching story eventually just took over everything. I love the first level of Neo simply because there's all these people dead, and as you pick up their souls and whatnot, you get to hear kind of them talking and saying things and running, and there's a lot of panic and chaos for them, their own final thoughts before they die. But eventually you get the story is exactly how these bandits got on this island, how they were all let in, and what happened, and then you eventually see foreigner bodies that are on the ground, and it turns out that they were all part of a slave trade thing, and that they tricked the villagers into letting them in before they could do anything to do it. They were rushing and taking over and whatnot. And I like that. But the levels after that don't do that. And I was really disappointed because I really wanted to learn about the stages in the world just as much as the overarching story.
Yeah, the level design was probably the weakest part of Neo for me too. But hopefully they'll have a sequel and they can spend more time and love into it.
I think it'll get a sequel for sure. So
I definitely it took off incredibly well. I mean, barring that, the game is bloody fun.
What about you, Ted? What's yours?
Well, I was trying really, really, really hard to not say more mecha games because everybody knows I want more Armored Core.
Swear to God, man.
So, after a while of thinking on it, I finally came to tactical
if you say mecha movies. Okay.
No. Tactical games. Like, what Meta talked about is exactly what I want to see more.
Well, then there you go. Get Mech Warrior when it comes out, and you're going to be completely covered.
Honestly,
all your bases.
Best of both worlds.
That's the best of both worlds.
Honestly, Mech Warrior, and then, did any of y'all play the old, I think it was called Front Mission games?
Yes! Oh my God.
Stuff like that I want to see more of.
That's SquareEnix.
Those games are so fun.
Well, I think ultimately what it is for me with tactics, and I know Meta listed a few that were not going to fall under this header, but I feel like too many, or at least most of the big name ones, are just fantasy based. And I'm okay with fantasy, but to be honest, I want to see more sci-fi stuff, and I'd love to see a really well done sci-fi tactics game of any type, whether it's mecha,
that's
tanks,
XCOM.
Well, yeah, it is XCOM, but
it's the same thing for me as like Fire Emblem.
But it's
it's the same thing for Tets as it is for me with Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem is a fantastic turn-based one, but it's not the one I want.
Exactly. Well, it's that. But then, even though it is sci-fi, it doesn't feel. At least for me, whenever I think of the tactics genre, I always think of fantasy-based stuff, and so I guess I just want to see more sci-fi. I want to see other avenues discovered, because it's about fighting off aliens and stuff, but a lot of your backbone to sci-fi isn't necessarily that. It's these other problems with society. How do you deal with these things? Technological advances. How does Android play into a blah 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 blah? But I'd love to see all that kind of explored as well into a tactics game, I guess.
Yeah. I do want to say this though. Like, if I had not chosen that one, I wanted to just give a quick honorable mention on this, and I blame this not because I've been definitely reading a lot more on H.P. Lovecraft stuff, but I would love to see some horror movies come out in just the in the genre, dealing more into cosmic horror and
we don't get enough
Lovecraftian style. It's almost non-existent, and of the stuff there is, it's horrifically bad.
And not just movies,
I think
even games
that's released anytime, like lately.
The problem, I can tell you,
there was a couple.
The problem is that
I can't think of any blockbuster ones.
No, not blockbuster. There's definitely not blockbuster ones. The problem with though, and when I kind of defeat myself here, is the reason as to why is that it's really hard to do that. Because that kind of horror is less about some bestial creature, some curse or something in a land with haunting ghosts or something, and it's more about abstract things that are going on that shatter any sense of realism.
Okay, guys,
to what
I gotta stop you right there, Meta, because this is what's gonna happen. You gotta better be careful what you wish for here. You're gonna end up getting the Cthulhu version of the Death Note on Netflix, where Cthulhu shows up. He's got a backwards ball cap. I just get bullied all the time, man. People don't understand me. I gotta make you go insane, bro.
No, please don't do that.
Honestly, ultimately what I think it is in that regard is that horror movies have this really hard time not being jump scare or gore fest. And when you have something as you said, the whole thing about Lovecraftian horrors is if you set your eyes on it, you will go insane. How do you convey that through a media that is supposed to be consumed by setting your eyes on it?
The Witch did
exactly.
That's the best horror movie I've seen in years, easily, because it doesn't really show you what is so scary. When I think of what could make a good Lovecraftian movie, all the horror would have to come from the atmosphere of the movie.
Yes, that's exactly.
Yeah. Oh,
like if you read any of Lovecraft's stuff, you can tell a lot of times the stories aren't about like these large groups of people or these catastrophic events or some mass murder and killing. They're about watching somebody fight something that they cannot defeat, and ultimately you're kind of just on that ride for them, watching as they slowly plummet downwards into a spiral of madness and insanity that they can't come out of. That's not really visual.
Well, I mean, like, so one thing that I've recently gotten my hands on, this like compilation of all of Lovecraft's work, and I usually read through about a story a night before going to bed, which sounds like an amazing idea, but it's not. But I was trying to explain to my wife why I was really, really enjoying it, and why Lovecraft is just this. He really is a great author, and it's not. It's hard to describe if you don't read the books, but there's one story, and I'm blanking on the name of it now, and to draw it back to where we were going with this, the story is a basic zombie story. These college age, well, you know, they're professors at this university, and they're
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, they're just exploring what it takes to, you know, preserve life, and they accidentally create this zombie, and they create like 3 or 4, and like the end of it is just the zombies come, and the guy who created them, they tear them apart and go
Spoilers!
away. And it's
yeah.
Yeah. If I have to give spoiler alerts for a book that was written in 1920,
I know. But yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's the one individual, the 2 doctors. One is just kind of along for the ride, but the other guy, he keeps wanting to learn how to bring human life back from the brink, and he keeps getting closer and closer. But eventually, what he creates isn't fully human, and every time he gets closer and closer, eventually they come around and they end up just ripping him apart, and there's no sense or reason for it. But they apparently don't like.
What's terrifying about it is it's not the subject. I mean, again, we're currently at a point in a society where zombies are zombies. Like, oh no, it's zombies.
Yeah.
But I legitimately was getting chills when I was reading the story, because it's the way he lays the atmosphere, the way it's like he really can put you in that position. And so to see that done in a movie is really, really difficult, because we consume movies a lot of times by watching as outside entities, and to make yourself be inserted into the character, I think, is a fundamental part of what it would need to have. That's just hard to do with movies.
There's definitely been psychological thrillers, which is probably what will fall best into for what Lovecraft horror is, but I would still like to see somebody take a shot at it, because I think it's
absolutely.
I guess I shouldn't say take a shot at it. I want somebody to take a good shot at it, not, like, well, let's just try it, see what happens.
I hope so too, because it's going to be hard for movie companies to do that. They want to play it safe and do what's going to for sure make the money, so they're just going to make, Paranormal Activity 23 or whatever instead. So.
I can say this: if you've played, because we actually made mention of it here when we were talking about the tactical RPGs. If you've played Darkest Dungeon, you probably know the opening character, the Ancestor, who was voice acted by a man by the name of Wayne Jude. He has actually done readings of some of Lovecraft's stories, and you can find him on YouTube. I would highly recommend to anybody listening on the podcast, if you were looking for something creepy and bone-chilling and just very fun to listen to, look up Wayne Jude, The Thing at the Door, and it's an audiobook. It's about an hour long. You just have to listen to it. It's bloody fantastic. And in his voice I tell you right now, his voice is like the perfect reader for this kind of story telling. It's absolutely wonderful. Yep.
The story, by the way, that we are thinking of, meta, is Herbert West Reanimator.
Yes. Yep.
As far as like sort of fear from the unknown, The Jaunt by Stephen King is a really good short story.
Yeah, King has some good stuff too.
I recommend it.
Well, I know King was heavily influenced by Lovecraft as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's some genres we definitely don't really see a lot.
I'm actually kind of hoping that the new It movie does well, because the new It movie has
it's very Lovecraftian. It.
Yeah, it's very Lovecraftian on what it's laying to.
I'm just afraid it's going to be Jump Scare City.
Yeah, and that's what I don't want.
Something else that did the cosmic horror really good was Bloodborne.
Yep.
Yes.
Bloodborne.
I think
Bloodborne was fantastic.
Yeah.
Give us more.
Part of that though is because they're advertising when it first came out, everyone went into it thinking it was going to be about hunting werewolves, basically.
Yeah.
They didn't like show any of the cosmic horror stuff, and it just
and it hits you.
Yeah, it was great.
That game
So,
was
like,
fantastic for that.
and then another like. So doing that with a movie is hard because, well, trailers these days especially, like that's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they show everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about the quote-unquote failure that was Cloverfield because, you know, we didn't know what it was going to be walking into the movie with all the media, and a bunch of people hated that. So there's not a lot of people that want to take that risk.
Well, I also know there were some other issues, like the shaky cam was a
big
thing for
I do think that it's
some of the
probably
other
a
stuff.
decent attempt at trying to like put you in.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was
Agreed.
all right.
Agreed.
Like Cloverfield was probably the best attempt at that, or really, or that I can think on a blockbuster level.
Agreed.
Agreed. Yeah, it was a very
would agree
solid
with that.
attempt. There were certainly failures on it, but I mean, the concept was fantastic, and the trailer did a good job in saying like, you are never gonna know what this thing is, so you're gonna have to go see the movie if you ever even want a chance to see it.
And then people wanted to know in sequels, and it frustrated them.
Yeah, the sequels less
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Let's get on to Tetsuo's topic here to close this out. What do you got for us tonight, Tets?
Well, and it's going to be a little bit of a shorter topic, but since we've been doing monthly modules, and especially this one that we just recently recorded, D&D, one of the things that we did for it was we all rolled our characters randomly, and as far as stats go, and then tried to base what race and class and make all our other decisions based off of these totally random rolls we did. And it got me thinking, like, because part of what we were discussing is, okay, so do we need a healer? Do we need, how much damage do we need to be doing? What about, general control? And so it got me thinking, what all of the archetypical battlefield roles that you see for RPGs, for gaming, are really necessary for a group? And I do think that this answer is going to kind of vary based off of the group you have and people's personal predilections for classes. But I was just curious what you guys thought was roles that you really need to see in a group, and what roles you guys like to do. I know for me, I am a big fan of playing tank. Whenever I try to do DPS, I still end up in the tank position. If I'm healer or control, I end up in the tank position somehow magically. So if I'm not playing tank, I have a hard time. And so I have a hard time imagining a group without a tank. I really do. Because you do need somebody there to take a lot of the enemy damage and to draw aggro and all that.
Well, Meta, you're playing Final Fantasy 14 right now. What would you say?
I'm going to tell you right now what every group needs, and is always never given recognition: damage. There's one goal at the end of every fight: to be the last guy standing. If you can't kill your opponent, I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to be the last guy standing. That's just how it is.
No, you just let him get tired and go home.
You just got to play
and tank.
rope-a-dope strategy. Rope-a-dope. But, I love damage dealers mostly. I just like the idea of a character who's really good at getting in there, doing damage in it. I do like to spread out, though. I certainly love my controllers. I love characters who like battlefield control. It's very fun. I especially love in tabletop games spells that allow you to either disable an opponent, that allow you to even control them and make them fight for your side, because now that's one more body on your side that's outputting on the opponent's side. Those are always fun. I certainly love those things. But, I also kind of miss is utility characters. Characters who are less about dealing damage, taking hits, or healing, and et cetera, but they're kind of like, oh, you need this, do you? Well, I just so happen to have this in my bag, and so on and so forth. I love utility characters as well, and I love a character who can just come along and be like, here you go, here's a buff. Oh, you need to heal. I've got a small thing for that. Oh my god, you're about to die. I have to save you with this. I love that kind of stuff, so.
How balanced and neutral of you, sir.
Actually, sort of related, because it again depends on how much because I think too, there's different people do different jobs, but I always love a good debuffer as well. Like, I can't play a buff to save my life, but I do love playing a good debuff character.
There's something very satisfying about slapping an opponent with a debuff and going like, LOL, now you're much easier to beat down.
No, not a debuff. When you have like 20 on them and then you're like, oh, here's another.
It's a little excessive.
Well, but I mean,
Tets was the guy in Vanilla WoW that played the warrior and did nothing but stack Sunder armor.
That's exactly what he did. Gotta get that Sunder armor up, buddy. Gotta max my PvP deeps.
All right, what about you, Mal?
As someone who enjoyed beating Final Fantasy 1 with 4 white
mages,
I don't
you
think
insane man!
Oh my god!
I don't think any class is necessary.
Did you go up the White Wizard?
Yeah.
Get that rat tail.
Oh my god.
I don't think any class is really necessary, honestly. I think any party can work, especially in a tabletop setting where you can work with the DM and reach a collaborative goal for the story.
True.
Yeah. I thought we were just talking about like our favorite.
Well, you said what do you think is needed, and I don't really think anything's needed.
Yeah.
I played Destiny, and they don't have like a healer type, and then
That's true.
I think, well, in that case, it's like this is something I should have brought up like as well. Is like it's going to depend on your medium as well, because like if the game, if whatever game you're playing is designed around the idea that everybody can heal or everybody's going to have debuffs or everybody can do a little bit of everything, then I mean it changes exactly what becomes needed, let alone what is desired.
Yeah. And that's what I meant, that it's going to be a little bit, obviously it's going to be a little bit different depending on the people you're playing with and stuff. Because, there's going to be that one guy that can rock a DPS in such a way where it plays like a tank even though it has no HP, or whatever.
Yeah.
like I mean, even like in D&D, you could have a class or like 4 fighters in a group, and the DM can work with that, and it can be fine.
Yep. Which is fantastic.
As for characters I like to play, I like Gishes, which is magic and fighting, but I think it comes from a place of what's it called? Jack. I like Jack of all trades, basically. I like a little of everything.
Mao's the
Factotum
kind of guy.
in 3.5 I love, and the Chameleon Prestige class, which being able to like swap in and out, which I really love the 5th edition Bard. They really made
my
it
least
special.
favorite class in 5e, which is weird.
That is weird.
We
Bards
talked
really
about
nice.
that once. So. I think the Battle Bard seems more interesting. Like the War College, is it called?
Oh yeah, that would definitely be what I go with, just because I love my Gishes.
The lore one seems like completely boring.
Yeah, I mean it gives you more options
More like
with your spell list. So
too.
I mean you can take spells from more spells from other lists, which is kind of cool. And you can build different characters based on those spell selections. So a lot of variety in the Bard, which is pretty cool. And they have the best cantrip.
Meh. Oh, I'm sorry.
They have Eldritch Blast?
They could.
Gasp! Don't
Anyone
you take my
can get
Warlock
Eldritch
spell.
Blast with a feat.
What? No. It'll never.
But
be
do they
true.
get Eldritch Blast? I mean...
No,
Yes,
they get
but
to insult people with their damage
Vicious
people with their
mockery.
insults.
Vicious Mockery is one of
Yes.
the best abilities ever made.
Yeah.
I love that one.
It hurts. They insult you so well, it actually physically hurts.
Yep. Good old 4th edition Bards. That was one of his staple ability. That was the keep the enemy on the tank ability, I believe, in 40. But
I started watching Critical Role recently.
You'll see Scanlan do that a lot.
I love the Bard
That's it.
in the group because he has to sing. Well, he has to sing. He sings like anytime his character does anything musical, he has. The DM makes him sing for his inspiration, and if he doesn't find it amusing enough, he gives him less of an inspiration die.
It's and actually, in fairness, they talked about this later on in the series. We're kind of jumping off track here, but he actually does those songs on the spot. He doesn't have them prepped, which is bloody phenomenal.
Oh yeah, they're all improv basically. But he did a cappella and wrote for an a cappella show even. So.
Sam Riegel.
Yep.
I'm gonna go with. I kind of like seeing them. Like Mal said, I don't think they're necessary in particular, unless it's like an MMO where the whole mechanics of the game are absolutely based around having a balanced set of different classes and stuff like that. I kind of like having them because I think it's just fun to especially in co-op games where you talk with your friends and figure out who's going to do what, and so on and so forth. So they're fine, but I understand that people get tired of them because they're bread and butter, tried and true in every game. Everyone always talks about tank and DPS and heals in particular. So, but I typically like playing either tanks or healers. I'm fine with either one, honestly. I don't really like playing DPS a lot of the time. In tabletop, it's fine. I'm more talking about video games. Tabletop, I can do whatever, but in video games, I love playing tanks or healers just because they seem more interesting. It's less about you doing your rotation over and over again.
You are a rare commodity.
Instead, you adapt not only to what the bosses do, but what your teammates have to do. I find that a more unique style of gameplay than DPSing, where it's just more what the boss mechanics are per se. So they've always been my favorite. Like in WoW, my first character, because this is basically the only MMO I've played seriously. WoW, my first character was a rogue, and I absolutely hated it. And I started in Wrath of the Lich King, just to give some framework. And I switched to Druid just because I just wasn't having fun playing the game. And like leveled the character super fast, was playing Tree Druid, had an absolute blast. This was right when the dungeon queue thing launched. So you could start queuing for dungeons instead of actually having to spam trade chat or whatever to get into a dungeon and find a bad group. So at that time, those were the ones that got dungeons quickest, and I wanted to do that. And those were good ways to level your characters without doing the same quests over and over again. So I just kind of like fell in love with healing, and then in the next expansion, Cataclysm, I played a warrior tank and had an absolute blast on that because it was, for one of the hardest specs to play in the game at that point in the time, because paladins and death knots were just better at that point at tanking. It was definitely the hardest tank and one of the hardest specs to like maximize your utility with, because you had intercept where you had to intercept from healers. It wasn't just like throwing up passive stuff and ignoring. You literally had to pay attention to the boss and what everyone was doing and your positioning and all that good stuff constantly. It was just a really fun challenge. So that's kind of where I've leaned off towards them instead of just flat damage classes. There's our roles, our favorite ones.
Yep.
One could say our critical roles.
Oh my god, please, no.
Yeah, that was a reach. I'll admit that was a reach.
Yeah.
Well, I played a tank in our 5e of my GMPC. Tets was a DPS. Meta was mostly DPS.
I was a failure.
I rolled bad. Then Mal was a DPS / like debuffer.
No, it was mostly controller / buffer.
So when we play Pathfinder, it's gonna be interesting to see what everyone does different. Because I'll be playing DPS class. Yeah, so
I'll be playing a tank DPS hybrid, I think.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Can't
then
wait.
Maybe when Anthem comes out, we'll get back to this if there's actual roles in it when we start playing it.
Maybe.
Yep.
All right, this has been episode 16 of Podcast 5 Rings, your source of enlightenment in our own video games, tabletop, anime, film, and tech. Each episode of Podcast 5 Rings releases Monday mornings on iTunes and SoundCloud, and now talk about topic day by day on YouTube with the full video releasing on Fridays. Check us out on our social media. Maybe we'll get another spoiler card by the time this is up, and that would be the place to see it. We're on Facebook at P5R Podcast, Twitter.com/Podcast5R. YouTube, we have our own URL now where we're releasing our monthly modules. All of Mecha vs. Kaiju should be out now, and D&D will be out by the time you hear this episode, at least the first part. So look forward to that. Check out MetaStream. He's at twitch.tv/PSOFlow.
I was going to say, I've been kind of been lazy a little bit on the stream, but that's because Stormblood has taken over my life.
Why are you streaming? You're grinding, man.
Oh god, watching an MMO is like watching paint dry, dude.
Yep.
It's that is one of the few games that's really hard to stream.
Well, that's why you gotta lure them in with your like super charming personality.
My dashing good looks and my personality, exactly.
Just leave it on and just talk nonsense the whole time. Make them wonder how much eldritch horrors you've been doing.
Exactly.
I know, just talk about something completely asinine.
All right, we'll be back next week with some crab talk. Smashy, smashy, wall McWall. I have no etiquette. Yada yada.
One can only hope.
Speaking of tank DPS hybrids.
All right, see you guys next week. Bye.
Later.
See ya.